Curran's Orchard, a fall staple in the Rockford area, fears a proposed solar farm next to their land will harm its business. WIFR reporter Alyssa Kelly meets with the orchard's owner, who says his heart sank when he learned about the news, and a Winnebago County board member who says the proposed solar farm is not yet a done deal.
This is my property here, and I'm going to show you where these solar cells are going to start, right over here.
Pat Curran, the owner of Curran's Orchard, walks the property that he's operated a business on for more than 40 years.
Right here, all the way across.
Now, Curran is concerned about the impact of a proposed solar farm going up next to his orchard.
There's no doubt in my mind it'll have an adverse effect on our business, our agritourism, our rural business.
Pivot Energy, an independent power producer and the developer behind the proposed solar farm near Curran's, has 1,900 projects completed or under development across the U.S. In a statement to WIFR, the company says Pivot Energy is committed to responding to community concerns and believes the proposed project can support agriculture while creating homegrown electricity at the same time.
Or solar panels can infringe on the quality of life. I'm also a proponent of property owner rights. So it's a delicate balance of property owner rights and quality of life for other residents in the area.
Winnebago County board member Aaron Booker's district covers Curran's Orchard. He says anything that can be detrimental to business weighs heavily on him.
Curran's apple orchard, along with Edwards apple orchard, they attract a lot of business. That's something that we'll take into serious consideration.
It's the whole idea. The solar cells, personally, I'd rather have a wind turbine on my property.
Curran stands by the fact solar farms take good farmland out of production and that they belong in an industrial zoning district.
It's all about perception and having fun and picking apples and not counting solar cells.
In Rockford, Alyssa Kelly, WIFR News.
At 5:30 p.m. this Wednesday, the Winnebago County Zoning Board of Appeals is scheduled to hear arguments on the proposed solar farm. That meeting will be at the County Administration Building. That's at 404 Elm Street in Rockford.